is revealing something incredible. Dr. Louis Goren is an endocrinologist living in Amsterdam. To date, he's treated almost 2,400 transsexuals, making him one of the world's leading experts on the topic.
Transsexualism strikes where it pleases, and you find people of all walks of life in your transsexual population. You find transsexuals all over the world.
Research on the transsexual brain has been nearly impossible to obtain. The grim fact is many details of the brain can only be revealed during dissection. But Dr. Goren and his colleagues at the Netherlands Brain Institute have taken the groundbreaking first steps in such research, the first and only study in which donated brains of deceased transsexuals have been dissected. Dr. Dick Schwab was in charge of the study.
I think it took me some 12 years or so to collect 8 brains. It takes a long time.
Doctors knew the area of the brain they thought might yield answers. The hypothalamus, a small hormone-producing section buried deep at the base of the brain. An area that scientists already knew demonstrated physical differences between biological males and females. The hypothalamuses were dissected and prepared for study. Lead researcher Dr. Frank Kuiver explains.
So what we are looking at here is the microtone, which is a way to cut brain material into very thin slices.
Once prepared on slides, the slices of hypothalamus are exposed to chemicals that reveal neuron fibers. It was already known that the normal biological male and female brains had very different neuron patterns in this part of the brain.
So you can see here the difference between a born male and a born female in a structure that is important for sexual behavior. And you can see in the first place that in the male the structure is bigger than in the female. In the second place, it's also clear that it's containing much more of those black points, which are fibers coming in from another brain area that is important for sexual behavior.
The question was, how would the transsexual brains compare to normal male and female brains? The answer offered the only biological evidence ever collected that confirms what transsexuals have always believed. Their brains are not like others.
This one is a born male, but from the age of 5 or 8 years onwards, he felt that in fact he was female. So it's a male to female transsexual. And you can see that the size and also the type of innervation of this structure is typically female, not male.
Simply put, every single transsexual brain studied more closely resembled the opposite sex from which it was born. Many basic questions must still be answered, such as what effects do female hormones have on the brain? Interestingly, one of the male-born transsexual brains studied had never been subjected to female hormones and still showed the same feminine characteristics, possibly indicating that hormone treatment is not the cause of the brain differences. The sampling of 8 brains is small, but the consistency of the findings is still encouraging to scientists. Believers and skeptics alike would prefer more information about the cause of the condition. But for people like Kimberly, the causes are less important at this point than the effect it's had on her and those around her.
I would always get married, and they would just have this really hard time with it because it's like, oh my God, I married this like really cool punk rocker who looks like Billy Idol, and now he's telling me he wants to be a woman, and I mean, it would just like instantly screw up the relationship.
After 4 marriages and 4 children as Ken, Kimberly realized that living in between was never going to work. She began to transition, a process that was devastating to her current wife, Nancy.
As Ken got stranger with his cross-dressing and his habits became secretive and odd, I thought he was just a pervert that had gone off the edge.
As Nancy learned more about the condition, she reached a different conclusion.
If it is truly a birth defect, which in Kimberly's case I believe it is, I can't think of a worse thing to put yourself through.
19-year-old Monique was accustomed to her unusual father, but that didn't change the impact of her first meeting with Kimberly.
Well, Ken had breasts and wore high-heeled shoes and makeup, and it was a very big shock. Even though I knew what I was going to see, it was very, very weird. My dad is dead, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I have like old pictures and stuff, but it'll never be the same. Can't ever introduce her to anybody as my father anymore.